In total, there are 6 variances being requested by the applicant. The first 2 deal mainly with the proposed pool in the front yard. The third and fourth focus on the pool house and the location of that. And then the 5th and 6th deal with a kind of hybrid masonry wall with an open fence along Woodward Avenue. And I'll go into each of these one by one as we go through the presentation. So to start, the site is zoned A6, which is attached residential, but one thing to note, this is a single standalone single-family home. So it's not attached, it's its own unit. It's part of a condominium development. So in addition to the variance being requested, the pool fence, and masonry wall will require PC approval. Just wanted to make note of that. We have an aerial here just kind of showing you the general layout of the site. Here you have Woodward Avenue, and then most of the proposed improvements are located in the rear yard, but it's technically a secondary front yard, which kind of triggers these variance requests as well as planning commission approval. So here we have the yard map. Again, Woodward Avenue on the top of the screen, and then when you take the property line to the back of the home, establishes your front yard. So we have our pool located here, our pool house located here, and then along the perimeter of the site, you have the proposed pool fence. And again, that masonry wall and kind of fence hybrid that the applicant is proposing is located only along Woodward Avenue. The fence segments on the right side here and the left side here are your typical 4-foot aluminum pool fencing. So now we'll go through each variance request and kind of just outline each of those. So the first one here is to allow the pool to encroach into the 45-foot front yard setback. So per the ordinance, any property along Woodward Avenue, a 45-foot front yard setback is required. So I just want to make note of that. And then when the kind of layout of the condominium was established, they used a 40-foot setback to Woodward Avenue or the rear yard. So there's a slight difference there, but when you apply the ordinance, we're required to use the 45-foot setback. So just want to make note of that. So the pool meets the condominium's setback requirement, but it's located, it encroaches into the required 45-foot front yard setback, which is why the variance is being requested. And then just another thing to note, just to help kind of get a general layout of the site, the pool is approximately 72 feet to the Woodward right-of-way. So there's a lot of trees and open space in between where the pool is located and Woodward Avenue. Next, we have the second variance, which is a front yard that is not 3 times the setback. So when an accessory structure like a pool is proposed in a secondary front yard, the ordinance requires that depth of the front yard to be 3 times whatever the setback is required. So in this instance, it's 45 feet, so 135 feet is required, although 61 feet is what is established here on this site. So there's a deficiency there. Third variance deals with the proposed pool cabana, which is highlighted in green here. And this variance is to allow the cabana to encroach into the 45-foot required setback along Woodward Avenue. The proposed pool house is located 44.1 feet, so it's about 10 inches or so, encroaches 0.9 feet into that required setback. Next is, again, with the cabana, and this variance is to allow it to encroach into that 20-foot minimum distance between the accessory building and the main building. Applicant is proposing 14 feet, so a variance of 6 feet is being requested by the applicant, which is outlined here. And then the 5th and 6th variance kind of go hand in hand. So this deals specifically with the solid wall aspect of this masonry wall that borders Woodward Avenue. So the ordinance allows for a wall to be 3 feet in height in the front yard, The applicant is proposing a maximum of 4 feet, which is shown here in the blue. So it starts out at 3 feet, and then as the grade goes down, which is a kind of a key site characteristic of this site, they step it down and they max that out at 4 feet. So 1 foot variance request is being requested for that. And then tied to that as well, you'll see kind of this open part, which is a foot in height. So it's kind of a hybrid between a solid design and an open design. So when we were looking at applying the ordinance to this situation, we determined to apply both the solid wall design height maximum as well as the open one. So that's why there's 2 variance requested. So it's similar to the previous example. It's stepping down. So they're trying to maintain 4 feet for the pool code requirement, which requires a 48-inch or 4-foot pool enclosure around the entirety of the site. So they're kind of balancing between a solid wall and an open design. And the applicant's here, and they can kind of walk you through. We also have some alternative designs that they wanted us to include, so they'll be able to answer any questions on kind of the design choice and get into more detail behind the reasoning behind it.
Question.
Yeah.
Do any of the other neighbors have a wall separating them from Woodward?
I don't believe so. The homeowner or applicant might be able to confirm that, but I don't believe the other sites have.
So is this going to look different on Woodward Avenue when I'm driving down, or anybody driving down, that this guy's got a wall on Woodward and
Sure.
everybody else doesn't?
So the applicant did provide a landscape plan, so they're heavily screening the wall, so you should not be able to see it from Woodward Avenue. There's also some renderings and kind of an existing POV from Woodward Avenue that may be able to help.
Why a wall instead of a typical pool fence and screening? Is it sound reasons?
I believe it might be sound, but I'm going to defer to the applicant.
I would assume it's, I live on Woodward, and I screen the hell out of my house. I put in 65 pine trees, and it does nothing.
Right.
So I'll let the applicant explain the reason behind it. So this is just to kind of, again, help clarify, on the right here in the red and the left, that's your typical 4-foot aluminum pool fence. And then the pool, blue here, blue line represents that hybrid wall that they're proposing. And the next couple slides will just be some renderings to kind of help visualize the site. So we'll just go through these quickly. So this, you can see the proposed wall down in the back of the image here. And you can kind of see how that grade kind of steps down with it.
What's in back of the pool, where the pool's going to be?
And are you referring to these chairs right here?
No, I'm talking about, is there a property in back of this? I know this is very unusual because most of them are condos.
Yeah.
But I don't know what, they have a row of trees, but what is actually back of it? Is it another housing development?
No, so it backs up to Woodward Avenue. So just kind of the trees along Woodward Avenue.
Yeah, I know Woodward's here, but what's in back of them?
Do you have an aerial?
Yeah, I can go back to there. So the pool is located here. So back of them, behind the pool is Woodward Avenue and the row of trees. Yeah.
Okay.
Have we heard from any of the neighbors?
I do have a letter that I just received that I would pass out to the board right now.
I think there was a HOA letter of support.
Right. I saw the HOA letter of support. Yeah.
Okay.
This is from the neighboring property owner on Hickory Grove, 80 West Hickory Grove.
So that would be, where would that be at? I'm sorry. Do you know?
I believe northwest.
Over here?
Northwest.
Okay. Okay.
Which neighbor is this?
I don't actually think you can see it on this aerial, but I believe it's northwest of the home that's next door.
So it's not this site?
Correct. No, it's not a Barrington address. It's a Hickory.
It's on Hickory Grove. So
Yes.
It's over
Across
here.
the street?
No, on the city side of Hickory Grove,
So it's
the
probably
south
gonna be
side.
down over here. is what you're saying.
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so the township is located north of Hickory Grove, but that letter of support is located kind of west of this site within the city. So I'll just continue to go through these renderings. You can see the pool house located here, pool. Just a view of kind of the landscape they're proposing. So along here is where Woodward Avenue would be. So they have a row of evergreen trees located here. And then this is kind of an existing image from driving down Woodward. So there's existing trees here, but the applicant decided to include additional screening just in case MDOT, for whatever reason, came through and decided, or a utility company came through and decided to cut down those trees, so they wanted to make sure you won't be able to see
The
them.
problem is every summer or every other summer, Edison's contractor comes and massacres these trees near the wire, and you lose all that foliage along Woodward Avenue. And we've approved other houses, in this area, and now it's way different than what they proposed because of the trees being massacred.
Sure. So the applicant can go into greater detail on what they're actually proposing. And this will be on their property, so if DTE comes in, they won't be able to touch those trees unless they have the homeowner's consent.
It's not in the right order.
It's not correct. It's not in the right of way, so it's privately owned property. And then this is just a quick recap of all those variances that we outlined. I'll hand it over to Leah, unless there's additional questions for me. No?
These things that are granted, I want to make sure. Right.
Good afternoon, Leah Michaels with HRC, just to talk about engineering related items for the site. The only thing I just want to focus on is some of the drainage improvements that we kind of vetted with the applicant. They do the property as they were, as Ian was showing with the wall, how it increases in height. The property does flow towards the right side of the screen up here. So they are proposing a significant leaching basin to capture the additional runoff water from this proposed information. So HRC has reviewed it, and we do find that is acceptable for what they are proposing.
Is the homeowner here? Would you like to speak? You're welcome to speak. Or your representative can speak or both.
CJ, after HRC sites, there's the 3 additional ones. Okay. You sent them.
Thank you.
Yep.
Good evening, everyone. My name is CJ Thompson. I'm the landscape architect for the homeowners. I guess one additional item we'd like to talk through, briefly mention it, is the wall at the end of the property. The main reason for that wall it's twofold. One is the noise, as you mentioned. So the homeowners do receive a lot of noise being up to Woodward Avenue, right? And being so close in proximity. I think there's only 20 additional feet from their property line to Woodward Avenue itself. The grades are another thing where Woodward Avenue actually sits about 3 to 4 feet higher than a homeowner's property line itself. So not only are we in close proximity, but we're also elevated on Woodward Avenue. So the whole goal for that wall was, one, to try and reduce that noise as much as possible. The landscaping that you see on the backside of that wall is also an attempt to, one, decrease that noise, but also screen that wall from Woodward Avenue. Like you mentioned, if they come through and clear cut that brush that's there now, we still have screening, so no one's going to see that wall from the public right away. The second, I guess, concern for the homeowner is, they do have children that are going to be using this yard. Being in such close proximity to Woodward Avenue, safety is always a concern with cars coming off the road. There's been numerous incidents over the last couple months that has made them reevaluate the wall and what they want to do there. So originally, when we first looked at this project, we wanted to come in with this 6-foot-high wall that you see here. And working with Giffords, Webster, and HRC, we try to come up with a compromise where we were very minimally increasing the ordinance. So that's why you saw that hybrid wall of the 4-foot masonry with the 12-inch aluminum topper. So We're really looking for guidance from the board. I know that was our application for what you saw here, but what a 6-foot wall could be. One other item that we saw is, if this was a dedicated rear yard, which we know it's not in this district, a 6-foot height wall would be accepted per ordinance. So we're trying to use that as just a comparison, knowing this is a dedicated front yard, but the homeowner uses it as their rear yard. So just a couple of factors there for the wall, and then I'm happy to answer any other technical questions that you guys may have.
What color are you proposing for the wall?
The color's to be determined. We'd really like to match whatever we're doing for the rest of the retaining walls on the property, but the house right now it's kind of a lighter beige gray, so we try to stay in those neutral tones, dial back, nothing bright red or.
No, I don't care what it looks like from the inside. I'm wondering what it looks like from the outside, where the homeowner's not going to see it. Just people driving on Woodward.
Yeah, I think there's. It's not a 0% chance you're going to see that, but the trees that we're using on the backside of that wall, they're going to be 15-foot tall arborvitae at installation. So it's going to be automatic screening from day one. From the public view, seeing that, there's not a good chance that they'd ever see that wall, maybe a couple glimpses.
Going speeding down the road.
Sure, yeah.
If it's properly maintained.
Mm-hmm.
I have a fundamental question. Why is that considered the fundamental front yard?
Because it's on Woodward Avenue. I think any property on Woodward Avenue, that counts as a front yard. Even though there's no driveway, there's nothing connecting it to Woodward, I believe that's correct.
Probably
Right?
another question for Giffords.
Sometimes it'll be on a corner, so you'll have the
That's
front
how my
here.
yard is.
If you're on a street on this side, that's a front yard. So anywhere there's a public street will be considered a front yard.
I understand.
Yep.
Thank you.
The lunacy of these front yard designations are sometimes you have to move things in a certain position, which is actually worse for your neighbor. Like when I put in my sport court, the place they made me put it in was more visible to the neighbor had I put it where it should have been because of the designation of the front yard. So
It's like lake houses too, sometimes. The
Yeah.
front is the lakeside.
exactly.
Yep.
And I think one other comment too, Ian briefly touched on it, but when we first had this property surveyed, we actually had it surveyed twice by 2 independent surveyors. They both came back with that 40-foot setback, referencing the initial condo plans, right? So these plans were developed trying to maintain that 40-foot setback, and only in conversations with Giffords Webster, as we explored this more, we kind of noticed that, okay, the current code is 45 foot, so that's why we need that additional variance. But everything we're proposing, pool house and cabana, is outside that original 40-foot setback.
That was the confusing part. So the original plan permitted the 40-foot.
Yeah, the original condo plan, I think back in 2000, give or take a few years, was permitted by the city at a 40-foot setback. And so when the surveyors took the property, they referenced that master deed, and that's where they kept getting that setback from.
This is a question for the city attorney. When did the code change, and what was the date on when this house was built?
Those are excellent questions. This is not a pre-existing non-conforming structure.
Okay.
So whatever occurred, the ordinance was in place
When the
as
house was
written
built.
When it was built.
Okay.
For whatever reason, this condominium development was built in the way it was between the developer and the city. I was not here at the time and was not part of those conversations, so I don't have any additional information to share with the board on that front. But I can tell you, this is not a pre-existing non-conforming structure.
Okay.
Was the house built before the other condominiums were built?
I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, the homeowners, but this was actually the model for the condo development, correct? So it was probably the first one actually built as part of the development.
And just to clarify again, the 6-foot wall is okay in the rear yard?
Yes, if it was,
Solid?
yeah, yep. But of course, it is for the ordinance, front yard.
So a 6-foot solid wall of a 6-foot brick wall would be permitted in any rear yard anywhere in the city?
Correct,
Correct.
for the fence ordinance.
So how many condominiums are on each side of what you're calling the front yard? Are there condos that go down on each side of the road?
We go back to the
Aerial?
aerial.
You just had it right there. Right, there's those 3, and then there's a couple more that'll be planned south, right? wraparound, I believe.
Those aren't built yet, obviously. This is a current
I believe there's one that's built as that road wraps around, right? That was a recent application.
Yeah, and where it says project site, that one is currently under construction.
Yeah.
And their neighbors all supported it, correct?
No, so there is one letter for the homeowners association, which was included in the packet, and then there is a letter of opposition from a homeowner on Hickory Grove, which is the street north of the property on the city side. So the street is north, but I believe the homeowner lives on Hickory Grove on the city side. So there is one letter of that indicates that the HOA has reviewed the plan and believes that it is what's the word? Congruent with the other developments on Barrington Court. And there is one letter from a property owner on Hickory Grove, which has been passed out to you, that expresses opposition to this project. So I think that is reflective of the record.
Maybe one clarification there. That HOA letter that we submitted did represent the 5 board members, and they all independently approved it. And we have the emails from them approving that for the 5 members.
Where is this 80 West Hickory Grove on? I'm just trying to see what the proximity is.
Doesn't even seem to be in the picture.
Chairman, if I could give some insight, I believe it's a vacant property. It's my understanding that the property owner believed that she was adjacent to the site. It is not her adjacent site there that's on the Barrington Court. It is 3 houses over.
Do you think it was this house?
Correct.
So just to clarify for the record, it appears that the homeowner on Hickory Grove believed that it was a different house on Barrington when she voiced her opposition to this project. Correct.
Okay. Well, it would be interesting to understand why that is considered a front yard, because it certainly is not a front yard.
I know.
Right.
That's why,
That's what I'm
that's
saying.
why.
I mean,
when
if
you
there's
go-
any rear yard,
It's got
that's it.
When you go past it, I mean, you would never consider it.
Ever.
No.
And why it's zoned condo, these are single-family homes to begin with. I think it's ludicrous that
Absolutely.
they're zoned condo as far as that goes. There's nothing like a condo on this site. These are individual, single-family homes, and it was zoned wrong to begin with.
If that's not a rear yard, I don't know what is.
Well, this was all done site condo, and the history of this was very challenging. I was involved a long time ago, and this development has had a lot of problems. What I don't know is in the master deed for this site condo project, whether it identifies all the properties along Woodward as having the same front yard orientation as this property. Do you know that, Amy? Do you know that, or Lana?
I believe that all of the, tell me if I'm misunderstanding your question, all of the properties on the, I'll just say right, but I think it's east.
Along Woodward.
Correct, all of those would necessarily have the same dual front yard designation because of the nature of the backing up to the work.
And I can't recall any of them seeking a variance for a 5-foot, 4-foot, 6-foot wall along Woodward.
I believe that that this is the first time that requested.
I think this is the only single house of that kind in that condominium complex, isn't it?
No, I believe that even though it was site condo and developed as a site condo, that each of these site condos are in fact large single-family homes. They're just unique. Their setbacks that they're developed with are incredibly unique for what's actually being built on the property. Does that make sense? I know, well, maybe it doesn't make sense, but that's what's happening.
Yes.
Yeah, but the other issue is the variances we have granted in the past or nowhere near as slam dunk as these. I mean, if this is not a rear yard to the naked eye, I mean, way more than anything we've done in the past. So, I have no problem.
My only issue is uniformity. You know, it would seem to me that if one yard has a solid fence behind it in a development facing a main road like Woodward, you know, it would look better in my eye if they all had that.
I agree with that.
I don't.
You're talking about the fence?
Yep.
Yeah.
But I guess the issue is
Well, they're
they're
calling
not
it a wall. I think-
wall, but we're not going to see it. Is there a way we can maintain that
You
they
don't,
properly?
you don't know that we're not gonna see it. If those things die or get massacred or whatever, we can see in between the arborvitae. I'd be fine with it with 2 rows of that staggered, and I need some more assurance that I don't wanna look at this, see this wall while I'm driving down Woodward. And the lack of uniformity with your neighbor to the north and neighbor to the south.
That's what bothers me.
Yeah,
I mean, maybe-
I want to guarantee that you're not going to see it. And Edison coming and massacring these things, or they die, or they expand the road, or whatever. I'll be fine with 2 rows of arborvitae staggered, and I don't want to see this from Woodward.
Yeah, I mean, maybe one comment there too is as much as you guys don't want to see that from Woodward, I guarantee the homeowner doesn't want to see Woodward either, right? So
Well, then we
those
both win.
Yeah, for sure. So I think the struggle with the double row arborvitae, as you can see on this plan though, is we get really, really tight. This thing works. You can kind of see on the corner right here, right? So we're hugging that property line as much as we can with that wall to get that 1 row of arbs in there. And if we have to push that another, call it 5-6 feet in, we're gonna be having such a pinch point on this property with that wall. It's gonna be very tight.
I think the point is, no wall, and just do the plantings, so then you can just plant.
Well, the issue there would be the pool. So we need an enclosure all the way around the property to maintain pool code, right? So anything, we need a 40
That's
inch.
not true. I mean, you just need to enclose the pool, you don't need to enclose the property. So right now, you're choosing to put a wall around the property, you don't need to do that. You can enclose the pool safely and comply with code requirements.
Okay, we're going to open the floor to any other comments or questions. Anyone from the community, the homeowner?
Hi, I'm Lisa McInerney. I apologize, this was my idea. But it stemmed just, from wanting the American dream for our children and, trying to keep them safe in this day and age. The wall was originally looked at, in our opinion, to perimeter the pool code, really. And as we looked at it and started digging deep, I'm a certified financial planner. I've been a financial advisor for 25 years. So when we looked at the property and what we needed to do, we were justifying the cost, because we certainly don't want to make any investments that are unnecessary, unreasonable. And we did a decibel test. And when you look at the noise level, it really is just screaming with some of the recent accidents that have been occurring on the property to our children. It's very kind of scary and a lot of anxiety from a mother's perspective, and just like a car veering off the road, just a straight shot into your backyard where your children are playing. Is very terrifying, scary. But we did do a decibel test because, again, we wanted to understand the investment we're making in our property. We wanted to understand that this was reasonable. We wanted to understand when we were coming ahead or in front of you all that we were asking for something we thought was reasonable and necessary. And the decibel readings were very high. I mean, even normal traffic, it was about 80 decibels or higher. Ambulances would come around 90 decibels. The cars were actually almost higher to about 100 decibels. So this, definitely could help there. And again, just with some of the safety. But I just wanted to thank everybody for considering this. And again, our intent is not to disturb anybody or have this be an eyesore for anybody. Again, just to enjoy our property and, have it be safe and secure for our children.
Thank you.
Questions or comments?
I do have
Just a comment. I
Okay.
can't imagine that anybody from Woodward is going to look at that wall and say, "Oh, why did they do that?" So I don't think the wall is a deal.
Can I ask the city attorney,
Yeah.
are these variances always taken as a whole?
No. So if the board, so before you, there's six variances. We, put before the board proposed motions that kind of list out, all of the, variances that are before you and some proposed language that go along with them. But, you do not have, if the board would like to either table or deny part of the ordinance or part of the variance request, they are more than entitled to do that. You would just approve the variances as to the pool cabana, for example, the pool or the setbacks or any one of those and not approve.
So we could approve everything and then maybe in theory table the wall to see if there's a better screening or some mechanism that came up, that a better design in theory.
That's possible. I would recommend you can table it. I would recommend denial. And then, to send, if on any or some of the variances, to allow the homeowner to go back to the drawing board on that and come up with an alternate plan for those variances. I will note on this one, a pool fence is required, and this current wall structure is acting as the pool fence. So if, theoretically, if the board was inclined to deny or table the variance as to the wall, it would be, I would also recommend that you deny it as to the pool, so they don't have a variance for a pool and not a pool fence. Does that make sense? So the answer is yes, you can approve some of them and not approve others.
So let me restate that if I understand it correctly.
Yes,
We've got 6 line items here.
correct.
There's an omnibus bill
There's an omnibus.
to approve or deny,
Correct.
but we can actually break out 1 or 2 or 3 or more,
You can.
either for approval or denial. But what you're saying is the brick fence is absolutely necessary, or, more to the point, a pool fence is absolutely necessary. And if we don't find the brick fence suitable, it might be best to deny the whole 6 line items.
No, that's not what you said.
In a sense, I'm saying that that in this plan, the fence structure is a key to the omnibus, let's say. So if you're denying the wall and, if the board was to deny the wall / fence portion of this, I would recommend against approving the pool as well, because you do not want to grant a variance for a pool without a pool.
That'd be an unsafe approval.
That would be the position, that it would be a, unfortunate position to put the homeowner in that case, and to put the city in that case.
I can follow that logic.
Yes, so, the most straightforward thing to do is to either approve or deny as a bunch. The board can, pull out things that they want to approve or deny.
At this point, could the homeowner decide to withdraw their application?
No. That must be done.
We could table.
The
we could
homeowner
deny,
must make the
or we could
request to
approve.
table before the board.
Do we have the ability to approve it with the screening? Like, how do we get to where the screening satisfies that DTE or inclement weather or something destroys the landscaping where then the wall becomes visible? I guess, is that a fair way of saying it?
So,
That
I
seems to
don't
be-
want to,
Because that seems to be the thing holding things up.
well, I think that, and this is, I understand the board's concern about aesthetics, and certainly that can be one of the facts that the board can consider. But I would, the board cannot redesign this plan for the homeowner. It should avoid doing that.
No, that's not what I'm asking. I'm asking, is there a way, if we grant the approval, let's just say we said there was a staggered screening, right? If, in theory, if they could do it, I think everyone here would be pretty much fine. But let's just say there wasn't stagger screening, we only had one row screening, and it became diseased, any type of issue where it came, can we commit the property owner to maintaining that on a permanent basis going forward?
So there are ordinances which require the maintenance of landscape, the replacement of certain trees. Those ordinances exist and everyone in the city is subject to those. So it would be a code enforcement matter that would have to be reported.
It would have to be reported and followed up. Got it.
I think with the swimming pool, you have to have at least an iron fence that goes all around your swimming pool.
That's correct.
So what we're doing is debating whether they should have some brick with an iron top or all iron, which is kind of strange. I think it's a unique situation, and I think that the brick is not going to make anybody have a second look and wreck. So that's my opinion.
Yeah, I think everyone's good with
For
it.
the landscape designer, what size is the pool physically?
The pool is, it's 38 feet by 18 feet 10 inches. So a little bit smaller than like a regular 20 by 40 pool, just to fit within that original 40-foot setback is what we're going for.
Just a question about the sound barrier aspect of the wall. I mean, as the grade goes down, and you're at the house, and especially if you're on the, let's call it as we're looking at it, the left side of the home, in that corner of the pool, the wall is gonna be going down the grade, and I'm just wondering from, an expense standpoint, that's gonna be a very expensive wall, and I'm thinking you're probably gonna be disappointed in the sound barrier aspect, because the wall will go down the grade. The sound waves don't really care about a 4 or 5 foot wall. They're just gonna come in. You need something a lot higher, like, trees, a thick row of trees would help. I'm not sure that a 4 or 5 foot wall, a brick wall, is going to stop all that much sound coming into your property, and I don't.
No, you're not wrong about that. And I think the approach we had here is we want to do whatever we could to try and help any level of sound. Like Lisa mentioned, it's so high, so even if it's a few decibels or anything to lessen that, it would help the homeowner, especially with the grade being taller at the road and dropping down 3 or 4 feet to where that wall is going to be. Just trying to get the most height of that as possible. And like I said, the screening is going to do more, the landscape screening for the noise, but then the safety is the other aspect of it. With a wall, right, a car's way less likely to go through that than an iron pool fence, right?
If you've got trees, that's gonna slow things down pretty quickly.
That helps.
Now, just from an expense standpoint, you're a financial planner, you're looking at this, I mean, the expense you'll have to spend on a brick wall of that size, and then it doesn't do anything for you in regard to sound, that would be pretty disappointing. So just another thing to think about.
I think it's just to really minimize, we're never gonna get to perfect, but it is pretty loud out there. I mean, even cars in the middle of the night with our children, sometimes we're up with them at 2:30 in the morning, 4 a.m., and I'm not sure what these people are doing or where they're going or what kind of lifestyle they live, but they're going down continuously. So I think it was an interesting, exercise for us to, take a look at it. And again, we're not gonna get to perfect, but I think just some limitation would be much helpful, and certainly, the safety aspect of it is pretty big for us also.
Well, my own opinion on this, I certainly sympathize with the front yard, rear yard configuration, and I get that part, but the fact is, it is identified as a front yard, and you are proposing to be the only property there with the wall, which there's no way that's not going to not be visible. And with all due respect to fellow member here, I think that is a problem to identify, to establish a precedent with a wall along Woodward when there are no other walls on Woodward. And I agree with Commissioner Baxter about if the purpose is noise reduction, evergreens, a lot of them is the best tool for that, I think. I can't see how the walls would not be prohibited as a dimensional variance under any of the criteria. It's just, it meets none of the approved bases, in my opinion, to grant the variance for the walls. The other ones I've got no problem with, but, and I think that enclosing the pool, you don't need the wall to enclose the pool or comply with code. So I can't vote in favor of the walls as presently proposed.
Excuse me, I just have a question. I've actually been over it. It's my understanding that a certain height wall is allowed in the front yard setback. Is that not correct?
Correct, a 3-foot tall masonry wall, 4 foot open.
So that's allowed.
There's no wall there now. Whether it's a wall or not is another issue.
My question is a 3-foot wall allowed?
With planning commission approval. A solid wall in a secondary front yard is limited to 3 feet in height with planning commission approval.
With planning commission?
So the real issue is, can they get an extra foot? But they couldn't put a wall with planning commission approval of 3 feet.
They could put a 3-foot wall at planning, but it, again, yeah, requires planning commission approval. The reason why it's before you tonight is it's a 4 foot.
4 foot.
Yeah.
Right, so that's
Correct.
a 1 foot. So that, I guess that is different, right? They are allowed
Yeah,
a 3 foot.
and I mean, I can't vote in favor of a wall that would tee it up for, I mean, this seems to be in reverse. I think the planning commission should have passed on the review of whether a brick wall at that location would be approved, and then it comes to the ZBA to determine height. I mean, that's how I think it should run, rather than in reverse.
Yeah.
So let's just have a brief discussion. This could be approved in total, it could be denied in total, or if I understand it, we could disaggregate the 6 bullets and say yes or no to one or more.
Yes, you can do that. You can break it apart and approve or deny each one as an individual.
Thank you. Floor is open to a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to see us deny everything and have them go back to the drawing board. I'm not happy with what's been presented here. And the family knew they bought a house on an 8-lane highway, and the noise issue really is, I can sympathize with them, but it's a house on Woodward. So.
Is there support for that position?
Is that a motion?
No. I thought we were still in discussion phase.
And the question is called. Now, I want to make sure I state this properly. You're saying that we should deny the variance.
All of it, and have them go back to the drawing board because of the pool issue, and if we approve the pool and there's no fence, that's a problem. So it's a can of worms if we don't deny everything and have them go back to the drawing board, and they can come back to us at another date with a more acceptable plan.
Thank you. There's a motion.
But I guess the
and
challenge
support.
with that would be, to
Let me ask-
piggyback off
go ahead.
that, is if they came in with the plan and it was 3 feet high and didn't ask for the variance, what are we doing?
If it was 3 feet high, the wall would not be before the ZBA. So you would see a plan, and the fence would not be something that the ZBA would discuss, because that would be solely before the planning commission.
And they approved the 3
And-
foot.
The planning
May or
commission
may
has
not.
not seen this
They haven't seen it to that
whatsoever.
point.
It is before the ZBA regarding the variances requested.
So really, we're talking, it comes down to a foot is what this is all about.
Correct.
Well, I'd like to say something. I still have my uniformity concern. They could have a white wall, the neighbor next to them could have a black wall, someone could have a red wall. That's my concern.
Or no wall.
Or no wall. So I think,
But that goes to my point, if the planning commission could approve, they forget where we're here. If we have a 3-foot fence that doesn't require approval, what color can it be? Can it be black, white, yellow?
Well, but let me just interrupt you for a second. I mean, you're presuming the planning commission may approve the 3-foot wall in the front yard. They might not. So, I mean, that's a presumption that I don't think we should take.
And
That's
just, And just pointing out too, that a 3-foot wall is not really a 3-foot wall. It's gotta start out as a 2-foot wall
Correct.
and then go to 3 feet if you're really gonna live to the.
May I mention one thing in discussion? I think the applicant is, willing to make a concession. If the wall is the only thing holding up all the other variances from being accepted, from your point of approving a pool without a pool fence, I think they would be amenable to just having that back section be a 4-foot tall iron pool fence.
I would be fine with that.
Yeah, I'd be fine with that.
Okay, there's a motion on the table right now that's been supported. I want to ask our city attorney, do we need more specificity such as has been drafted for us?
So, I am happy, I believe the motion on the floor is to deny.
That is correct.
Okay. I believe that the individual who made the motion said that he does not believe that that it meets the standards. And so that is an acceptable motion. And he articulated the reasons why. I don't know that there was a second on that motion.
There was
Well,
support.
if that was a proposed motion, then I'll second that motion. And that would be
Is everybody happy with
a denial of.
that screening with a pool fence?
I am.
Please.
So there's been a
So
motion
we-
to deny in a second, so it has to go to a vote.
No.
I have a question.
I don't think it was an official motion.
Yeah,
I'd
that,
rather get
yeah.
our parliamentary issues
thought that was a
resolved
comment.
Yeah.
before we call the question.
I think it was a comment. Would we be able to insert the concept of a 4-foot pool fence and approve that? Or would
Today.
they,
But where is the pool fence gonna be?
on the
Same
back,
exact spot as the wall.
in place of the solid fence, on the interior of the screening?
So the application would be modified verbally from the wall, as a solid brick wall, to the same height, but replaced with what, wrought iron fencing? Is that-
It would be a 4-foot tall pool fence. That's the same exact one on the sides of the property. So it'd be a continuous 4-foot pool fence around the whole property now, no wall.
And that's required.
It's required for the pool,
Yeah.
correct. So we're just subbing out the wall for
Yeah.
just a continuous 4-foot pool fence
Yeah.
around that property line along Woodward. And it would still have the screening.
Same screening, everything like that.
Same screening, that's the only thing that
Good.
All right, I
changes.
can live with that.
I like that.
Last I knew, we had a proposal to deny with support.
So I do
I
not
withdraw
think we
that.
actually-
Mr. Chairman, I withdraw
Yeah,
that
that was
motion
not
if it was a
official.
motion. It really wasn't.
And I withdraw any second.
Okay.
Both of you have agreed to withdraw.
Yes.
Is there a new motion on the table?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, that they put a 4-foot pool fence around the entire perimeter of the yard and continue with the same exact screening. Am I missing
All other
something?
And then all other aspects of the application. would be
Yes.
approved.
Would be approved.
I can second.
As a discussant, I'm just going to ask, those of you making the proposal, are you satisfied that would apply to all 6 points?
All 6
Variances.
potential variances, yeah, as modified, right?
Yes. Yes.
I can support that.
There's a motion on the table now. Sounds like an approval with a particular accommodation being specified.
Well, city attorney and Madam Clerk.
Misunderstand that?
Are we clear, are you
What I
clear
have
with
heard
what?
is that there is a motion to approve the variances for 524 Barrington Court as presented, accepting the applicant's verbal modification of the proposed masonry wall to a 4-foot tall open fence, with the material articulated by the landscape designer on the record.
Black in color.
That is already proposed for the rest of the property.
Correct.
That same fencing just wraps around.
Yes.
That is my understanding of the motion. So the motion to approve as presented with the modification on the record.
We understand. Just to restate that, it's an affirmation of approval with the proviso that the brick wall be supplanted by something appropriate to code.
And subject to any planning commission approval, right?
Is that could be a friendly amendment, yes.
And
Is there any
It's your
further
motion,
discussion?
so, and that would be also subject to planning commission approval regarding the fence.
Do they need to get that?
Yeah.
Okay.
It
Yes.
is an affirmative motion with the qualification. And we're now going to call a vote. Those in favor of such approval with specification as stated, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
You have an approval with specification.
Be right back.
Real obvious how that was zoned originally. It's insane. I
Mr.
don't
Chair, would you
understand.
like me to wait before?
Why was-
Yes, he's
You're going to
got it.
consider 2477 Hunt Club Drive. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, I'm going to have to recuse
Please.
myself from this particular agenda item. I'm a neighbor of the applicant, and he's a former officer on the HOA, as am I, so I think just for this item only, I'm going to recuse myself.
I'll wait for the commissioner to return before we move forward, just so he's on the same page as everyone. That's okay?
Yeah.
All set?
Would you like me to wait for him or
Please.
continue?
Go ahead and present,
Okay.
please.
So we have 2477 Hunt Club Drive, 2 variance requests for expanding a non-conforming building, as well as for not meeting the algebraic setback requirement. So the home, we'll get into it, the home does not currently comply with the front yard algebraic setback. So the homeowner is proposing a second-story addition. So with that addition, it enlarges or alters that nonconformity, which results in a variance request from section 24-228. And then additionally, when applying the algebraic formula and drawing the test lines, an additional variance is required for the, including the new second story on top. The calculation does not meet the required setbacks. So 2 variance requests. The site is zoned A4. So these are the 0.75 acres lots within the city. So it's just south of Kingsley Trail. Here's an aerial. So the home is located here with Hunt Club Drive located right there. So here's the yard map. So along Hunt Club Drive is the applicant's front yard. The applicant is also proposing a rear addition, but there are no issues with that. That complies with the ordinance. The main focus is the proposed upper second-story addition located centrally on the existing home. So this is a little overwhelming, so sorry, a lot of colors, but the green outlines the footprint of the building, and the red and purple line, this is incorrect information. There's a slide that shows you the correct calculation, but this is just showing that the existing home as proposed does not comply with the algebraic formula. So it's an existing nonconformity. So this was just a visual representation to that in addition to the formulas they provided. So that's the first variance request. They're enlarging this existing nonconforming front algebraic setback. And then the second variance request is to not meet the newly required algebraic setback when including that second story addition into the calculation. So one thing to note is the length of the building is not changing, so the issue that is coming from the algebraic formula is the height of the building is what is changing, so that is what is triggering the site to be not compliant. So this is just from our review letter. It's a little bit more clearly stated here. So you have test line A1 and A2, which was that red and purple line. So what's required after doing the calculation is 52.72 for test line A, and what is provided is 45 feet. And then for the test line A2, it's 56.8 feet is required, and what it comes out to is 40 feet. So those are existing nonconformities, so that's that first variance. So we're expanding and enlarging those. And then that second variance is algebraic test line A, which is taking into account this new second story addition. So 59.57 feet is required for their setback, and what they provide is 50.83. So it is not compliant, and that's why they require ZBA approval. So here is the existing home as shown today. So the main addition you'll see on the next slide is located, again, centrally in the building. So here's the proposed rendering that includes that second story addition. So again, why the algebraic formula is failing is because the length is not changing, but when you account for this addition in height, which obviously is lower than it is right now, or is higher than it is right now, that change in the H variable in the formula is what triggers noncompliance. So there's no HRC question or HRC concerns with this application. So if there's any additional questions for me, I'd be happy to answer those.
Wouldn't it stand to reason that all the homes in the neighborhood are non-compliant for this algebraic?
They could be. Sometimes it looks like, if you look on the aerial, they're all pretty in line with each other. Yeah. And it's a 40-foot required just regular setback without the formula. And it looks like, if you do kind of a quick survey, it looks like they all meet that 40-foot. But again, the lengths of those buildings might change and the heights of those buildings might change. So you could say that all of these homes could potentially not. But again, it's a case-by-case basis, depending on the homes themselves, which all might be a different size and shape.
Well, I'm familiar with the neighborhood, and I know that a lot of the homes are colonials, and they tend to be higher.
Sure.
And if they're all at the same setback, I've got to believe those homes are non-conforming as well. So looking at this kind of addition wouldn't be outside of what would normally be seen in the neighborhood.
So just to clarify, this home was conforming, but for test line A on the algebraic formula, which hits this addition. So it's the addition itself that knocks this property out of conformity. So I'm not familiar with the neighborhood, but it is my belief that those properties are likely, if they are similar to this, currently conforming. But if a property owner was to make additions or knock down part of that, it is entirely possible that those homes as well could be knocked out of conformity.
And they could have been constructed before the algebraic formula was implemented in the city. It could have just been strictly your minimum, required setbacks. And I think the applicant did include that information about when the home was constructed. I don't have the details on when the algebraic formula was implemented, but just something to consider.
The home was constructed in 1964. I believe the algebraic formula was first introduced in the city in the 90s. This question, I don't remember the particular.
Okay. The point I was trying to make is that the neighborhood has a lot of colonials that are higher up than this home is. And so, in fact, some of those colonial homes might be more non-conforming than this home with the addition. So I just wanted to
state that. Sure. You have a question?
Yeah, I had a question on the formula. I may have missed something, but are you suggesting that if they lengthened the home, then it could be brought back into formula?
No, what I'm saying is, sorry for any confusion. When you look at the formula, it's L plus 2H divided by 2. So if you lengthen that, if you add additional length, it could bring it out of not compliance. or if you're changing the height.
Oh,
So
either
those two
or.
variables
Okay. Okay.
are the only things that change. So that's why, if, let's say they were adding an addition to make it longer, we would have to do the calculations, obviously. But that's just, the main point is, it's the height that is increasing, and that's why it's triggering that.
The approved addition, does that have any bearing on the formula?
The rear addition?
Yes.
So we did do an algebraic setback analysis for the side. So you do, for the algebraic setback analysis, you take from each property line. So the side property lines are compliant. Those are a lower height and a shorter part of the building.
But that didn't exacerbate
Correct.
the non-conformance.
Correct.
On that.
It's just the front yard, or front setback.
Is the property owner here? Yeah. Would you like to speak?
I would, please, yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you. This is just some support from neighboring homeowners, you guys.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Sorry, I only brought 6. I do have black and white if you'd like to take a look. Okay. I will try and not be too lengthy here. I'm Adam Banton. My wife Chelsea and I own the home in question here. I'd like to introduce Tom Inger, who is one of the owners of Renovation by Design, which is the company that we're using for the design and build for this. So I have kind of 5 elements with this request, and I'm going to try and get through them as concisely as Ian got through the slide presentation there. So I'm going to kind of hit on these one by one. If you guys have questions along the way, you're welcome to ask. Otherwise, I'm happy to answer anything that I'm able to for you at the end. So element number 1 for this variance request is exceptional circumstances. So strict compliance with the ordinance and the algebraic setback formula. What we view this as a pretty modest addition to our home to kind of give us the space that we need. But in order to do this, we would have to move our entire home and basement back on the property in order to technically meet this this criteria here. We're going to be well beyond the city's minimum setback requirements. We're going to be well below the city's maximum height restrictions on this project as it's proposed. Number 2, substantial justice. So my family, we love living in our house. We love our neighborhood. We bought in 2019. My girls, we have 2 daughters. They were 5 and 3 years old at the time. We thought this is more space than we'll ever use. It was perfect for us, right? And they're now 10 and 13, and I've quickly realized that I was wrong about that assumption. So I think that the use of this home for what we want it to be for us is only going to continue to change, and so we're trying to nip that in the bud and really take care of this when they're at ages where we can really enjoy this house for many years to come. Our main priority really is just giving us adequate space and, importantly, a good layout for my family's changing needs. So I think not only will this give us the space we're looking for, this is going to help our property values. This should help bolster property values around us as well and in our neighborhood. We tried to be very strategic with this addition, adding this bonus space. We're trying to be mindful of maintaining our neighborhood aesthetic. We're not doing it's going to be very similar to what you see there. We're not looking to do anything crazy here. It would put us at a very similar height and setback actually to the rest of our neighborhood, as was discussed earlier. We are a tri-level, quad-level home, and we're surrounded by colonial homes. So this is our height will be no higher. In fact, it might even still be a little bit lower than our surrounding houses. When we discovered the setback issue initially, Tom and I spent a lot of time kind of discussing what we could do to either minimize the variance request, to potentially do an addition elsewhere on our home that would avoid having to be here today, where we could have broken ground a couple of months ago. And unfortunately, there just really are no good options, mainly given the layout of our home as it exists today. My wife and I were involved with our neighborhood. We have many friends there. I was HOA president for a couple of years. She's on the welcoming committee. We're very involved with our neighborhood. We love our neighborhood. We love our neighbors. We want to stay there. But in order to do that, without this variance, we're going to be in a position where we're going to have a very difficult decision on whether we do our small addition and sell and look elsewhere, or deal with it, moving forward. We would much rather reinvest in our house and in our neighborhood and stick around there for the long term. I gave you guys each that packet, so those are every adjacent property line to ours. Our neighbors are in full support of what we're doing. I've been very open with them throughout this project. So as you can see, we've got a lot of support going on around us in our neighborhood. Okay, element 3, that was the longest one, I promise. Element 3, the plight of the owner is due to unique circumstances of the property. So our home, it was built in 1964 in a manner that, my understanding, it met the city's minimum setback and height requirements and everything at the time. This algebraic setback formula that I have nightmares about has come about since then. And because of that, when we looked at the numbers, because of where our house is situated on our lot, the single level of our home, my understanding is that doesn't even meet this algebraic setback formula that's in the ordinance at question here. So that means I would completely agree that there's probably not a house in our neighborhood that meets the algebraic setback formula as it's written. Part of our issue is certainly the length of our house because of the layout of the home. Some houses may not be quite as wide, and because that 80 plus feet is coming into the equation here, that's certainly playing a little bit of a role with this. We're not, with this variance request, we're not asking to build any closer to any lot line. We're not gonna be getting into any of the minimum setbacks or anything like that. We're not getting closer to any of our neighbors. This will exist on top of the existing footprint of our house. Number 5, variance will not adversely affect the purposes of the master plan, designating the property to be used for one-family residential purposes. I mean, I think this is only gonna just further enable the property to be used exactly as the master plan states. It's gonna be better for my family as we live there for many years to come. This is not a flip and sell kind of, like we're gonna be there for another decade plus at least. Not only that, but I think when we do go to sell, when we're looking for attractive homes for people to come in and look to purchase, it's gonna make it much more attractive to a larger group of people who are looking to potentially purchase this. So thank you guys all for your time and consideration today. I'm happy to answer any questions. If they're technical, Tom might have to answer them, but I'm happy to answer anything that I can for you guys.
Any questions?
No.
It's pretty cut and dried.
Anyone else from the community that wants to make a statement?
I will. I'm a neighbor.
Please.
You didn't ask me, but I'm Melissa Matthews. I live at 554 Whitehall. Our properties back up to each other, and I'm perfectly fine with this.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Thank you. The floor is ready for a motion, please.
I move to approve.
There's a motion to approve. Is there
Second.
support?
Aye.
Okay, any further discussion? If not, those in favor, please raise your right hand.
Aye. Aye.
Anyone that's opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you all.
Congratulations.
Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Question for the city attorney. The prepared motions, are you still needing these to be read, or?
To create a record, but I believe that
There was very little.
sufficient to say approve, as that you approve it as presented, but best practice is to add detail or subtract detail as
So say we all.
Are we good to continue? Okay. So next, our last item is 685 Hillcrest Drive. They are requesting a landscape open space variance. They are proposing 78.43% when 80% is open. They currently meet that 80% requirement. They're at that 80% requirement. This site was before you back in May of 2026 with a different variance request, so they have now revised that and are requesting a new variance request. So again, just to refamiliarize ourselves with the site, it is zoned A1, so that's where that 80% requirement comes from. There is some natural features located in the rear of the property, which you can kind of see here, kind of meandering through. There is kind of this unique panhandle that is included in the site itself. Just one thing to note. Here is the yard map. So they have Vaughn Road over here, and then Hillcrest Drive over here. So again, any yard abutting a public right-of-way or street is a front yard. So the main area of focus of the landscape open space variance revolves around the driveway layout. In a few slides, I have a comparison between what was before you in May and what is being currently proposed. So again, it's to request a open space variance of 78.43%. So they're 1.57% below the required open space. So here is that comparison. So on the left here is what was before you in May. They were proposing 77.14%. And the driveway, which is again kind of the main focus here, was just over 8,800 square feet. And then what this new variance application is, they are proposing 78.43%, and they reduced that driveway to 76,997 square feet. So you can kind of, if you're looking at the two images, the kind of what appears like in the applicant is here, and they can dive into greater details on where they cut excess driveway is mainly along here, and then the entryway when looking at the two. So these are generally look to be those areas where they were reduced. So when comparing the two plans and the two proposals, this current proposal that's before you tonight, the open space increased by 1,115 square feet from the previous application.
What was the outcome in May 2026? Did they table it, or did they?
It was denied.
We denied it.
It was denied, yes.
And this group denied it?
Yes, the ZBA denied it. This is just here for reference. This is just a kind of closer view of the overall site plan of the site. Could be used for discussion for the applicant. Just wanted to include that here. Leah has some items here to address. But before that, I'd be happy to answer any questions if anyone has any.
The landscaping, so the original.
Sorry.
Does any of this propose landscaping or any other install, or is it just the drive?
It's mainly focused on the drive. They last year they received planning commission approval for some rear and side yard improvements located here, and there were some reductions between that approval. So I believe they reduced the overall size of the sport court and some of the patio areas, but the main kind of point and where you see the biggest change is the driveway layout.
Yeah, well, there was, I was part of it. I mean, I was for it. There was a vote, it was like 4-3. It was a very close vote. The issue at the time was there was some drainage issue that everyone was okay with. I think it came down to the driveway, and they said, hey, we'd like, made a recommendation of maybe shrinking it or something along those lines. So I think that's why they're back.
Yeah, it looks like they shrunk it, and
How much
a lot
smaller
narrower.
is it actually?
So this
Number-wise, how much smaller?
About 1,000.
1,115 square feet.
just over 1,100 square feet is the difference between what was denied in May and what's before you tonight.
Okay, but the width of the circle.
I'll defer to, once we get to the applicant, they'll be able to answer that question on the reduction and the dimensions of that driveway and what led to that reduction. Turn it over.
Any questions?
No questions, but just a comment on, there were some other issues as well. I think one of the things that we were running into was the whole aspect of being self-created, because the property had been maxed out from an open space standpoint prior to the driveway change. And so it was just an additional amount that we had to consider beyond what was already a maximum. So, for me at the time, I was interested in seeing what could be done with the driveway to bring it into compliance. And it would have been nice, at least today, to see a plan that was in compliance and then talk about the constraints and restrictions as to why that wouldn't work versus just something that's reduced. Because that then is a lot more convincing to me that, okay, here's the problem, and here's why, and here's the plan that's in compliance. But we don't have that here. We have something that's, you know, splitting the difference between what it was and what it should be. So that was my main issue, is that it didn't meet that criteria, that it seemed to be self-created, and it looked like there was a possibility to reduce the driveway to the extent that you could come in compliance, and open space is a huge issue for the city right now. I mean, it's just a big deal. So if there's anything that's gonna raise a red flag, it's gonna be open space.
And am I remembering this correctly, that part of the other installs that were being considered, didn't they take out an old sports court, and then this is a...
Correct.
So, I mean, the issues that were being considered in reducing the coverage to get within the open space compliance, it wasn't just the drive, it was other aspects that they were working with. And so apparently all we're dealing with now is just the drive. They're retaining the dimensions of the other installations that were being considered the last time we dealt with this, but those aren't being modified, it's just the drive.
Yes, from the previous ZBA application in May, because those items that you referred to, like the sport court located here, and I think some of those, that was part of the planning commission approval a year ago, and then what you're referring to now is from May until to now, the main area of, they did not reduce that sport court anymore in this new submittal. The main changes were just associated with the driveway and changing the amount of coverage associated with that.
And this gets to the self-created issue, right? That they can make a smaller court, they can do a smaller patio, they can do other things collectively that I think fellow commissioner is appropriately addressing here. And I don't know.
Originally, the Circle Drive, they wanted to be able to have two cars parked beside each other and to be able to...
They wanted one car to be able to come and go at the same time for deliveries, emergencies, whatever reasoning, which I didn't ever come.
Are there any questions for me? Otherwise, I think, Leah, you have some items regarding drainage and stormwater.
Good. So since the last time we met, they have decreased the area around the driveway. The storm improvements have remained the same. So even though they've eliminated some of the driveway, they're still proposing a leaching basin and other drainage improvements. So HRC still feels comfortable with the improvements that they're proposing with this modified design.
The homeowner here, or would you like to speak?
Good evening. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to appear before you again. I acknowledge the board's concerns at our last meeting, and
Can you identify yourself?
Yes, hi. My name is Chris Barbat. I am the resident of 685 Hillcrest Drive. In May, I started to identify the uniqueness of my property and what caused a few hardships. Unfortunately, after I did that, after a vote was already casted, and I didn't finish the details of the hardship. So I appreciate the opportunity to speak again today. But if you see the property, I have the stream that runs from Vaughan across the whole property. That's okay. Got it. Thank you. That stream comes with a 25-foot natural setback feature. It poses difficulty configuring my lot. That's something unique to my lot, and majority of Bloomfield Hills residents don't have that stream going through their property and causing a 25-foot setback feature. Additionally, what's unique, as you can see, I have 2 side yards, also unique and makes it pretty difficult to configure because a side yard setback is more stringent than a front yard setback. As was identified before I have this panhandle here that's completely unusable. It's in the woods, runs along the stream, and limits what I can do on my property as well. So in May, we were about 3% over. We tried to cut that in half. Now we're about 1.57% over. And I believe the main objective of the lot coverage is drainage. And what was just stated, we overcompensated for that drainage with these catch basins. And the stream is a hardship to me, but it's also a bonus where the Vaughn Road and the lot slopes down towards that stream. So any water doesn't go to the neighbor's lot, doesn't sit in underground. It actually goes to the stream, and the stream naturally drains that water down to wherever it ends up. I think it's the Rouge River. So it's a plus and it's a negative for me, but it works to accomplish the objective of the lot coverage ordinance, which is drainage. So, you know, we reduced the driveway the best that we could. Before, it was allowed 2 cars to pass each other. Now it's just 1 car, which is okay. We're fine with that. But the real bonus to doing this is it allows me to eliminate an entrance into the property, which is off of Vaughn Road. Eliminating an entrance off of Vaughn obviously has a lot of benefits. It improves the traffic flow on Vaughn Road, eliminates vehicles stopping and backing up while trying to enter the property. For me, the most important thing, I have 3 little boys, 7, 8, and 9, and these delivery trucks were going into my driveway pretty quickly, and it was causing a major safety concern. Eliminating that drive off of Vaughn now directs all service and delivery vehicles to the much safer and slower dirt road, which is Hillcrest Drive, which would be now my only entrance in and out. So I listened to the board's concerns, and I appreciate those concerns, and we reduced it the best we can, and I really would appreciate the consideration.
Just a question or comment on this. I don't think the setbacks have anything to do with the open space calculation. The difficulties you have in positioning certain things on the property would relate to setback, but as far as how much of the property you're using, how much of it is impervious really doesn't have anything to do with the setbacks. So that's not a hardship in this particular case. Just wanted to point that out. And again, for me, I would have loved to have seen a plan that shows what's in compliance and why it doesn't work. We don't have anything that we can see and say, oh, I see what you mean, there's not enough room, but we don't have anything, so it's going to be hard for me. I'm in the same position I was last time. I want to see the hardship, and I just haven't seen it. The positioning that you're talking about doesn't have anything to do with the open space calculation.
Hi, Board. I'm Jacob Mansour with Triac Landscaping. I'm the landscape architect and the designer. And if I may address that concern, as it was last time, like you were trying to provide us some solutions, as our concern was now that, you know, we're making everything safer and closing that Vaughn Road entrance and only having 1 entry, you have a bottleneck on the approach and the entry. The reason that circle is the size it is so any delivery driver, emergency, anyone who can come here, they can turn around or wait from the right-of-way of the garage on the egress for cars to turn around. And also with the limited parking and being off the street, and in this city we frown upon like parking cars on the side of the road. So, you know, to have the parking here as well. And, you know, in order to comply with the coverage, it was mentioned that we had Planning Commission approval about a year ago. From that time, I took the rear yard hardscapes, which is not a crazy amount, and I reduced the sport court to the possible smallest size you can build a sport court at. I reduced all the decking around the pool. I reduced the stepper stones. I reduced everything nominally so we wouldn't feel it. And then we also reduced the approach from the driveway, and then after the circle to the garage, because only 1 car can pass, and that's okay. but we still have that accessibility on that turnaround spot in the main circle for 2 cars to pass each other comfortably there.
What is the width of the, or what is the diameter of the circle? The outer?
22 feet is the diameter and 14 on the approach and 14 to the garage. It used to be.
No, the diameter of the circle. It can't be
I want
22
to say 56, something like that. If we zoom in, I don't know if you can on this plan.
I think it's a lot more than 56.
It shows something. It's like, it's between 50 and 60, like the diameter from edge to edge of that circle. But the way we pass it at 22 feet, you can pass 2 cars there. If we were to reduce it, because I have options that I didn't present today with.
If it's 22 feet wide, you've got 22 plus 22 is 44, and then you've got the diameter of the inner circle. So it's probably at least 60, right?
If you have 22, that's 44. 10, 12 feet, you're probably 54 to 56. I think it's under 60. I just can't see the number right now. As I was saying, I had a plan to get us under that 1.5%, but you couldn't have 2 cars pass in that circle or any way on the approach. And I stole as much as I possibly could from the backyard.
How is it that they would be passing in the same lane? Wouldn't you have one coming in around one side of the circle and something passing on the other side of the circle? Why is it that you would have to have 2 cars passing on the same?
Well,
you have kind of a one-way in and a one-way out, and you should be able to easily pass.
Like a roundabout.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, when you see the delivery trucks that come in, they're not using, they just are, they're zooming in, zooming out, they're going to house after house after house, and I've had a lot of situations with my existing driveway where there's a deadlock between my car that's parked, them coming in. It definitely does happen, especially with my kids riding around their bikes. It does cause a safety concern, and they're not really paying as much attention as you are when you're driving where I am. I can assure you that.
So when you ran your calcs for, you could bring it under the threshold for open space for 1 car?
If it would only be for 1 car.
And that really eliminates the reason I
Closing Vaughn, yeah.
Closing the Vaughn Road entrance allows someone to get out now. It's without it.
And as previously mentioned by HRC, we kept the ample drainage, which actually for our plan back in May that we had, HRC, I think you stated it was ample drainage as well, and it even over exceeded, and now it even exceeds more. And as Chris stated, like, we really don't have any concerns for drainage problem. We have a natural taper from the grade at Vaughn Road, sits higher than our entire property and tapers toward that stream. And we have 1, 2, 3 leaching basins on this property, plus the stream. So the concern of like impervious versus pervious structures really doesn't play that much of a factor here, as there's not going to be a problem at all.
Anyone else like to comment or question?
I'd like to reiterate what I had said before. I'm a neighbor. I have a side driveway that rolls into Hillcrest at the other end of Hillcrest near Orchard Ridge. But I'm a frequent traveler on Vaughn Road, and I do think that the benefit of eliminating the Vaughn Road entrance should be considered. It is a massive benefit to the citizens of the community to eliminate that entrance.
And if it's worth mentioning, I didn't provide letters, but I have 4 other of my neighbors that are ecstatic of the fact that I'm trying to close the entrance off of Vaughn Road. And if you would like, I could submit those letters to you at a later date.
Any further comments or questions?
But just, I mean, it states the obvious that shrinking the size of the perimeter of that circle drive, it's not mutually exclusive to closing off the Vaughn entrance. So,
well,
you can't hold the city hijack to that. It's a nice option, but you don't need to maintain the Vaughn entrance if the size of your circle gets shrunk.
I think you would have had, at least with me, a really good chance if a plan came forward that showed what was in compliance and then discussed the constraints, but I can't There's nothing to look at. I mean, 22 feet wide, that is a very wide.
But that, anything less than that won't allow 2 cars to pass, and if 2 cars can't pass, then I can't.
But 2 cars
I wouldn't-
can pass. I don't understand why 2 cars can't pass. You've got a 2-lane, it's called a roundabout.
You're going in the same direction, right? So they just pause and they wait till the other's moving out
Un-
and then they.
Unless we have cars parked, and then they can't pass.
Well,
It is worth mentioning, he's off, well, hopefully off one main road, and you don't want to be parking up and down.
Are there any other comments or questions? If not, we're ready for a motion.
Move to deny again?
Move to deny.
Yes.
Okay, and we can cite this as your motion. Motion to deny the variance is requested, is distributed to the group.
Before or after the vote?
I'll just
Before.
take a minute so everyone can read it,
Do you want me to read it?
if you don't mind.
I only have approvals.
It's on the back.
Oh, okay.
May I make a comment, or is it another comment?
No, there's a.
We called the question here on this motion.
I move to deny the request for this dimensional variance because the applicant has failed to establish practical difficulty for the following reasons. Strict compliance with the ordinance requirements would not unreasonably prevent the owner from improving their property. The owners can design a driveway that meets the landscaped open space requirements. They are choosing not to. A variance would not do substantial justice to the applicant and to other property owners. The landscaped open space requirement preserves the character of the city. It permits reasonable development while maintaining the natural beauty of the land within the city. It is within the power of the homeowner to design a driveway which meets the landscape open space requirements. Number 3, there are no unique circumstances on this property. The dual frontage on the lot is not the issue in this case. The proposed design of the new driveway is the issue, and that is within the control of the applicant. Number 4, the applicant's problem is self-created. The homeowners added a number of accessory structures, a pool house, a pool fence, and a sports court to the property in 2025, which reduced the landscape open space on the property from 82.35% to 80.02%. The homeowner is now proposing a driveway design which reduces the landscape open space below the ordinance requirements. The design includes a circular driveway component which eats into the landscaped open space. This is not needed nor necessary to reduce the access points on the property or improve functionality. It is simply a desired design feature. The applicants created this issue both with their 2025 improvements, their first request, and their current proposed design of the driveway. The redesign could be further reduced. The applicant simply does not want to reduce their request to comply with the ordinances. Number 5, the granting of the variances will adversely affect the purposes or objectives of the master plan, as the goal of the master plan is to bring properties into compliance with the ordinance. There is no feature on this property which justifies granting a variance in this case. The applicant needs to work within the bounds of the ordinance to improve their property.
Second.
Is there support? Yes.
Support.
We're going to allow you 2 minutes to make any further comments. That's not required. Question has been proposed for denial. It's been supported. Due process would have the board make a decision now, but we'll allow you a couple minutes to comment.
Sure, thank you. Coming now. So my request is not to maximize the development of the property. It's really about creating a safer and more functional site, safer for me and my children, safer for the traffic on Vaughan Road. There's no drainage issue whatsoever, and I'm asking for 1.57%, which is very minimal to ask. I have reduced it after hearing their concerns in May, where I believe I was asked to reduce it at the meeting if I would entertain reducing it in May. I just didn't know how that was going to lay out until we did lay it out again. So I couldn't make that request at the time, which I was asked to do. But now going back to it, we did reduce it in half. And the overall objective of creating a safer, more functional lot for me and the community in comparison to asking for a 1.57%, I would hope that that would be taken into consideration by the board members. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion amongst the board? Question's been called. Those in favor of denying is read. Please say aye. Raise your right hand.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed?
Opposed.
Commissioner Fix, I believe if a roll call vote would be in order because it is a closed vote.
That's fine. We had a divided vote, so we're going to do this starting with you, please.
I vote in support of denial.
Brad Baxter, vote in support of denial.
I do
Stephen, do you
not,
abstain?
I don't deny.
I vote to deny.
I vote to not deny.
I vote do not deny.
Doug Burley, deny.
So the motion to deny passes, which means the request is denied. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
With that, the meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everyone.